Today on the podcast, we have some massive news out of Google, some huge integrations that they're currently doing with AI into virtually everything they're doing. The one thing I wanted to bring up before this is the fact that later in next year, essentially in January, I'm going to be helping put together an AI conference. If you or someone you know would be an amazing speaker for this conference, an expert in the AI field, specifically the vision of this conference is, really breaking down where we see AI going in the next 5 years, what we need to be doing today to prepare for that. If you know a visionary in the AI space or you think you'd be a great fit, send me over an email. I'll leave a little email in the show notes for this. I would love to hear from you. We're putting together an amazing speaker lineup. We have some really incredible people lined up. A lot more details to come on that. So this is not an announcement or anything. I was just, really looking for speakers on this. So if you have someone, let me know. But without further ado, let's dive into the podcast. Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Make sure that you go to aibox.ai, link in the show notes, to join the waitlist for our new AI platform. We're going to be launching an incredible platform that allows you to build anything you want with workflows in AI. So you're able to chain together ChatGPT and image generators and audio generators to make really powerful apps for your organization, or you can host them on our marketplace and actually generate royalties from them. So make sure to go to aibox.ai and join the waitlist. In addition, if you like the podcast, if you could do me a massive favor and please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. This helps me be able to get better guests on here as they check the reviews to see how you guys are liking it. So if you could please do that, I would really, really appreciate it. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Today, Google is evaluating the capabilities of its generative AI chatbot, Bard, and it is setting it on a collision course, essentially, in my opinion, with competitors like ChatGPT. So this upgraded Bard really comes with features that enable users to verify its responses. It's also able to collaborate in real time, think Google Docs, right? And most intriguingly, it's able to integrate with Google's suite of applications and services like Gmail, Docs, Drive, Maps, YouTube, and even Google Flights and Hotels. This significant update includes what Google is calling Bard extensions, though for now these are only available in English. Initially, this was introduced at Google I/O, which is, the rollout of this whole extension was deliberately measured. But today, Google has emphasized that it intends to offer these features in a manner that prioritizes user safety and trustworthiness. So Jack Krasowski, who is the product lead for Bard, elaborated saying, quote, "We want to make sure that the way that we bring this to users is extremely rooted in 3 principles that we have as it relates to the trust that we build with people that use Bard, which is around transparency, choice, and control." So essentially, users can opt into these features and can just as easily revoke permissions. This isn't something that's just like default going to be on everything. But in the, kind of backdrop of privacy concerns, Google's being really upfront about how it handles user data. For instance, when Bard interacts with, Gmail, Google Drive, and Docs, this is something a lot of people are concerned about. They're like, I don't want to integrate Bard or AI into all of my data. What if they're like essentially taking my Google Drive, taking all my Docs, taking all my Gmail? Companies have classified information, intellectual property, all sorts of things. They don't want this integrated. So a lot of people are worried about the privacy side. But essentially how Bard is now being set up with this is that when it's integrating with Gmail, Google Drive, Docs, it doesn't use that information for reinforcement learning at all. So the policy helps maintain I think is a really critical trust factor they have to have here. So Krasowski also said that Bard is not going to have access to store an entire Gmail inbox, for example. It operates on a per-prompt basis, pulling specific information as directed by the user. So Google also assures that no human reviewers will gain access to emails Bard interacts with. This, I think, is really important because when ChatGPT came out, like ChatGPT, all of the things you tell it are going to human reviewers, right? They have people that are reviewing the responses that they're getting for trust and safety reasons, and also for fine tuning and all sorts of other things. And a lot of people were very weary of that. I think, you saw JP Morgan Chase, Apple right at the beginning ban their employees from using these tools because they didn't want, things to leak out through them. And so I think this is a really big move by Google. I don't know how much confidential data I have, but I would not want, to be using this tool if I know that someone's sitting there on the other end reading my emails. That feels like that's pretty much like the biggest invasion of privacy. No one likes that. So I think that that's a really good move on Google's part, making sure that doesn't happen. The approach to this really kind of aligns with Google's longstanding practice around data security and privacy. They said, quote, "It's similar to how we've approached spam filtering in Google services in the past. Your personal information isn't read because we believe that trust is the most critical pillar upon which we build." That was Krasowski again. So I think when the Bard extensions are in play, the chatbot can perform a whole bunch of different tasks like summarizing important emails or even planning a trip across by essentially cross-referencing Gmail conversations and real-time flight and hotel data. However, its capabilities do have limitations, which Google acknowledges. So for instance, Bard may struggle with identifying specific content like wine club membership in your email unless those exact terms are used. So this is kind of interesting, right? It's not like it can see all the data around it, get context, and know where to look for something unless you have like literal keywords attached to the data. So this is interesting. This is a big problem with like AI in general, is that it's really hard to label all of the data. Data labeling is a real thing, and so they don't have a magical bullet for this yet, but this is definitely possible if you use the right keywords. So additionally, the new Bard can leverage multiple Google services in a single interaction, which I think is really cool. So if you're planning a trip with friends, Bard could pull the most convenient dates from a Gmail thread, search for flights and hotels, map your route to the airport, and even suggest activities at your destination through YouTube videos, and do it all in one conversation. So for features not utilizing personal data like YouTube, flights, hotels, maps, users are opted in by default, so be aware of that. But they can easily opt out, apparently. So the end game, Google says, is to extend this functionality to third-party services. But before that, the company wants to refine the features within its own ecosystem of apps and services and really kind of enhance Bard's accountability. So Google has added the Google It button to cross-verify the chat's answers. Tapping the button validates every statement Bard makes against Google search. So this is also very interesting, where you can essentially, verify if something is actually true. And this is allowing users to kind of further explore a topic. And if Bard is uncertain about a piece of information, it's going to highlight it in orange, offering a visual cue that helps users discern the chatbot's accuracy. This is also very interesting when it comes to, AI and hallucinations and whatnot. Being able to highlight things it's uncertain about is definitely, I think, a really big feature. So Krasowski is really optimistic about the future and said, quote, "We are pretty excited about taking this step towards building trust with language models. Of course, we certainly want to be transparent when we're not confident or even when we make a mistake," end quote. So I think this feedback mechanism is going to serve as kind of a basis for ongoing improvement of the AI model. Lastly, the update offers, I think, a really collaborative angle. So users can now share a Bard conversation via public link. I think ChatGPT has been doing this for quite a long time. But this is essentially allowing others to continue the discussion and ask the chatbot further questions on the same topic. As part of its kind of global reach strategy, Google is also extending Bard's existing English language features to over 40 new languages. Overall, Google Bard is shaping up as, I think, a really powerful tool in the world of AI-driven chatbots. They're making this thing a lot more robust, integrating their ecosystem. And I think this is really Google's strength, right? They have a lot of services that are incredibly popular. Weaving them together into their AI tool could give them a bit of a competitive advantage over, OpenAI, for example, because currently Bard is useful. It's not that bad, but I just feel like ChatGPT always gives me better responses. That's where my default I always go to. But if they were integrating into my own data, that does serve another use case of, kind of getting this AI experience based off of my own data, my own personal tastes and preferences on things. So I do see that there's a lot of value, and perhaps Bard could help kind of pull itself ahead in a race that it seems to be lagging. It's definitely not in first place. And so I think this would be really interesting to see how this rolls out and how this is adopted by users and what the reception is.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.